Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. I am super excited and thrilled today to have Jeff Zwiefel, who uh, has been with my favorite health club, lifetime way of work, way of life company for 25 years. The former president and COO of Lifetime Fitness, now the executive director of Miori Longevity and Performance, which is a lifetime company. As I was telling Jeff before we got on, my dad and I have been members of Lifetime Fitness since its founding, and I would argue there's no better health club in the world. I mean, it's absolutely my favorite, and I've spent my entire adult life and high school, college life at Lifetime Fitness. But Jeff, welcome to the show. We're super excited to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kip. Great to be here.
Oh, my
It's a
pleasure.
pleasure.
Yeah, so usually we start out with just kind of origin story, kind of almost like comic book episode one, just a little bit about who you are and how you came to come to Lifetime and do what you're doing now.
Yeah, thank you, Kip. And I just got to say, part of what we'll talk about, but, Lifetime, I've been proud to be a part of and a privilege. And since, late 1990s, I joined in 1998 as a consultant for the company. Bram was in, as always, and the founder of the company, amazing visionary and innovator, and he was interested in assembling the best athletes. He didn't necessarily know what position they would play on the field. I joined after a decade as an executive vice president of a company that was based here at the time, Nordic Track.
Sure.
Left that, jumped into the Lifetime world and never looked back. It was an amazing whirlwind ride. We've been public and private twice over the course of those 25 years. I've had the opportunity of doing everything from running and developing our in-house training and certification arm called Lifetime University, to running a personal training business, the second largest revenue generating business in the company, growing that to $300 million and about an $85 million annualized EBITDA rate, to running group fitness and yoga and Pilates and those businesses, to ultimately running the core business of club operations in our 180 clubs, and responsible for our 30,000 plus team members or employees and 1.5 million members within our clubs. So, we've been on this fascinating journey, Kip, of becoming a not a health club company, but a lifestyle brand.
Right.
We call it the Healthy Way of Life Company. And that's hard for people. But once you get in there, as you know, Kip, you see all the dimensions of the business and the ecosystem that we attempt to create, because it's about as much entertainment and healthy aging and healthy eating and kids programming, and it's about sports and recreation with what we do with tennis and pickleball and other things, that it's much broader than just what we are accustomed to, which is a gym or a health club. And that's why, candidly, Kip, we dropped the name fitness a
Hmm.
number of years ago and didn't want to be associated with the narrow category of some of the other folks that are just doing fitness. There's
Sure.
nothing wrong with that, and we've got high regard and respect for that. But our desire, of course, was to extend way beyond that, because always seen this as a much bigger category. When you think about it, the US wellness market is a $328 billion segment, and it's going to be almost a $400 billion category by 2026. And versus the health club business in the US, which is about a $30 billion
Sure.
category. So we, of course, want to have the opportunity for a much bigger size of the prize.
Oh, absolutely. Well, maybe before we hopped on, maybe share with our listeners a little bit about just kind of the innovations that have come through Lifetime over the years since you've been there.
Yeah. Well, that's a long one.
Yes.
And I could go on forever because, I think great companies, Kip, as you know, and your listeners well know, have great innovation that comes from the most challenging times.
Mm,
And I think that's true also in our personal lives. And as we look back, the things in my life that have been the most difficult are the ones that propelled me and projected me and advanced me in the most meaningful way. And I think that's true of great companies as well, because as we all say, calm waters never made skilled sailors.
uh-huh.
And so when a company like ours that went from generating 475 million of adjusted EBITDA 2019 pre-COVID to zero of March 20th, 2020.
Yeah.
Um, it was it really rocked the boat. So if Brahm hadn't held onto his commitment of owning so much of our own real estate pre-COVID,
Mm,
we never would have made it through those storms and to the other side. And that allowed us the fortunate opportunity to execute a significant number of sale leasebacks,
mm,
raise the capital that we need to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars, and weather that storm. Because as an organization, we weren't eligible for any government assist. We got no COVID money.
right.
And, in 2024, the company finished somewhere around, I think it was 670 million of adjusted EBITDA,
Okay.
by contrast. So phenomenal growth. So the innovations have been extensive, starting back when we started seeing the changes in the multi-purpose clubs and gyms with
Mm,
the advent of the boutiques and studios coming in, from Soul Cycle to Bears Boot Camp to, you name it. Uh, we got ahead of that and invested and transformed all of our programming in the club. The spaces of cycle, of group fitness, of Pilates, of yoga, and we innovated our technology. We innovated our recruitment and casting of those performers,
hmm.
how we pay those people, and recognized that they were going to be more critical to the success of our business than anything. Because if you really break it down in our model, Kip, you can easily understand that each one of those verticals represent probably somewhere between 500 to 1,000 of your best members.
Sure.
And with 30% of our members or more in Edina, the club that you're next to, and I know you use in Minneapolis, in the heart of Minnesota, that gets somewhere between 50% of the membership population. They're using either small group or the large group training formats,
Sure. I believe
that
it.
the second floor makes up. So it's a huge part of and that club probably offers somewhere around 200 and some classes a week. So it's just amazing number of programs. So that was one of the first starts. Obviously, 2008, 2009 was another time when we had to completely reinvent ourselves during the Great Recession and figure out how we were going to execute the model differently. But COVID was probably the most significant inflection point for us, where we really had to go in and lean into who we were going to be, that we were going to be intentional and deliberate about moving our pricing positioning strategy upstream to the
Hmm.
premium segment,
Hmm.
separate ourselves. As you know, most folks that understand business, that if you're sitting in the middle of the market in any category, you're probably really having a difficult time
Right.
differentiating yourself. And you could see why the Planets did well and the Crunch Fitnesses and the other folks being intentional of going to the price conscious customer. And we were very intentional about moving up to the customer that was shopping on experience.
Yes.
and the premium level. And we took our pricing up. We took our experience up first to lead with that. We took up the people, the places, and the programs, and they
Yeah.
had to be the best. We went from ordinary experiences to extraordinary experiences.
Hmm.
And everything we wanted to do was intended to be focused on the member point of view. We called it MVP, member
Uh-huh.
uh, point of view, MPV. And everything, as Brahm has directed with his visionary approach, has been around creating desirability.
Hmm.
And as you know, in our clubs, there's thousands of different touch points, but every one of them had to be extraordinary and above what the expectations were. And we had to do that on a national scale. And so, we get about 112 million swipes per year through our clubs of those
Wow.
1.5 million members. A club like you attend at Edina sees on average 100,000 swipes a month. So it's high traffic, but we committed ourselves to high quality. And as you know, those are generally oxymorons
Right.
and don't go together. So the uniqueness of our barrier to entry, as we say, a high barrier to entry in what we also characterize as a low barrier to entry category. Because as you know, Kip, everybody wakes up as a fitness or a health aficionado and says, I'm going to open a gym or a studio,
Right.
boutique, or a personal training thing tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
And so what Lifetime is focused on is how we can deepen and broaden that moat,
Yeah.
right? And extend who we are and the difficulty for us. And you think about that, it's the capital intensive nature of our business. It's difficult to replicate what you see next to you in Edina with all of that, right? In concert with David Simon, who's great partners with Brahm Makrati, our founder, in reimagining the mall space, right?
Absolutely.
Taking that end cap of that particular mall. We've done that in multiple different locations around the country now. And that's several $100 million investment. So you start there, then you talk about the gestation period. I mean, that's a 2, 3, 4 year period from the time we start negotiating the deal and getting the civil approvals in the city and everything that has to happen to the ramp of the club and then the profitability of the
Hmm.
club, of course. And then the complexity of the programs,
Sure.
right? We're not doing one thing, we're doing 40 different things in that club. And
Yes.
the way we differentiate ourselves, Kip, is that we serve 90 days to 90 years old,
Uh-huh.
that
Right.
whole continuum. And you see them in the club every day.
Yes.
So it's been a remarkable journey. And I think it's always been successful because our mission has always been about creating these elegant, educational, entertaining, and functional experiences of the highest quality.
Yes. I mean, as a member, the way you've described it, that is exactly what Lifetime is. It is an experience. Anyone I've ever brought to any Lifetime, it's hard for them to go back to their normal club if they're not already a Lifetime member because it's so much nicer. It's
Thank you.
such a better experience. The people that work here, whether it's like Sean, who's general manager of Edina,
He's
who I think is probably
exceptional.
the best
He's
general manager of
exceptional.
any club anywhere in
He's
the world. I mean,
exceptional. Yeah,
he's
he's
unbelievable.
exceptional.
Or the
Yeah.
trainers, or just everybody. The Mark, who works in the locker room, is and he was at a different Lifetime before. So I've known him for years. He's the most incredible like operations locker room person I've ever experienced in my life. It's
Yes, he's like a concierge, isn't
it's
he? I know
unbelievable.
Mark as
Yes,
well.
exactly.
And you've talked about fishing, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely. Or in running. Those are the two big ones.
Yes.
No. And
Yes.
the other nice thing, I mean, the Brahm during COVID really took a stand nationally to say Lifetime and other clubs
We
need
were
to
never
stay
going to charge
open.
him.
Yeah, I mean, it
Yep.
was incredible. And
Yep.
I'm sure a surge of people became Lifetime members after his leadership and just saying
Yeah. Yeah.
we need to stay open. This is a critical, important thing. and just being a leader and a
Yeah.
voice.
Thank you, Kip. It was a really
Yes.
difficult time because obviously it created massive amount of political divide,
Yes.
all kinds of issues. And but at the end of the day, through it all, we stood steadfast with this commitment around the fact that we were essential. And
Right.
now more than ever, the health of our
Right.
members was, I'm sorry. Can we pause 1 second?
You can keep going. You can say whatever you want.
Guys, I'm just sorry. I've got, sorry, buddy.
No worries. No worries.
So the fact that we stayed committed to doing multiple things during COVID, Kip, we made, even though to, to keep our business afloat, we did have to furlough 30,000 team members, but we continued to offer them health insurance.
Mm.
We and Brahm as executives put our pay on hold for 6 months. We did never charge a member once if we weren't open and available for
Right.
them. And our protocols, we developed a 400-page protocol during
Jeez.
that time that was a state by state requirement
Oh my word.
and was heralded by the Department of Health as the standard across the industry. So it was a painful thing that makes the hair on the back
I'm
of my
sure.
neck stand up, of course, because our first commitment was to communicate with our employees and the next thing to our members every week on what
Yeah.
we were doing and how we were going to get through the storm. And we did
Yeah.
it. So, and we've never looked back. And like I said, the innovation that came out of that from an omni-channel standpoint, how rapidly we stood up digital technology
Mm.
and how today that served the organization so well because it's obviously such a vital part of the omni-channel approach in meeting the customer where they want to be and what we're doing with Lacey now and the AI approach of our ecosystem. It's just been phenomenal.
Yeah. How about I mean, a huge trend nationally, and now you're leading it up for Lifetime with Miora, but just talk a little bit about longevity and
Yeah,
performance and
yeah,
just the
happy
trend of what it
to.
is and how
Yeah.
that's such a, I mean, like pickleball, it's taking over the world.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And, I love talking about it because I'm just so doggone passionate about it. I'm an exercise physiologist by technical trade, right? I played competitive athletics, coached at the high school, professional, and college level, and was a strength coach, did some time with the Vikings as an assistant strength coach. So I've been on that side. Then I've a decade working with special populations. So I've seen the broad range of consumers and the challenges that they're dealing with from prenatal, postpartum to perimenopause to orthopedic concerns, cardiac concerns, you name it. And I've had the opportunity to deal with it and been blessed with that. But you think about the trends with the consumer right now, and you think about 1 in 5 Americans that will be over the age of 65 by 2030. You think about that traditional healthcare system and how ultimately it's failing the customer today that is interested in living better. Consumers want to look better, they want to feel better, and they want to live longer better. And so the whole concept of longevity is really coming down to that. And you're starting to see not just the uber rich, but you're seeing all types of Americans that are looking to have access to health optimization.
Mm.
I want to feel better. I want to look better. I want to live longer. The average American today, Kip, lives 14 years in chronic poor health. So we're living longer due to technology and scientific
Right.
advancement, but we're not living better. So
Yes.
this whole concept of health span versus lifespan is becoming so dominant. We're seeing all these changes. So there's a real dramatic shift in consumer thinking that their health is in their own hands
Mm.
and they're left trying to figure this thing out. And again, with traditional healthcare, we've become really great at specialization. If you're sick, if you have a disease, that's what it's set up for, right?
Yeah.
And it's expensive. It's the most expensive in the world. It's the most sophisticated in the world. But what it's not intended to do is to deal with health optimization and prevention. So what we did and we've learned over the years is, and what we've set out to be able to do is really dig into this most powerful core desire for our members and the consumers, really to have a credible, simple, and affordable one-stop shop solution that makes health optimization more accessible for them and more actionable. It's a comprehensive and integrated, personalized health optimization program, Kip. That's what Miora is at Lifetime. So, in a really simple format, what we do is we do a complimentary consult. We complete this metabolic profile. We'll deep dive into somewhere around 70 to 200 of your blood biomarkers that we'll take, either on site through a phlebotomist at one of our clubs or at one of the LabCorp or Quest locations at your convenience. We'll run that blood work through this proprietary algorithm that we've created called the metabolic code, and it will rank your results in red, yellow, green.
Mm.
Very simple. We'll create a personalized report for you. We'll then take that profile and set you down with our medical provider, because we have MDs, physician assistants, or nurse practitioners that will take you through then and take you through that 1 hour review and look at basically, in effect, how far are you away from optimal?
Mm.
It might be, your lipids, it might be your hormones, it might be your thyroid levels, it might be your homeocysteine levels, your cortisol levels. But I don't care whether you're a 30-year-old. Today, many times you might be dealing with stress and anxiety and sleeplessness or, ED, weight gain, whatever it might be. Our environment, our society, you're seeing it right now with RFK and Make
Yes.
America Healthy Again, and folks like Kaylee Means,
Mm.
and
Yes.
how we're ridding our damn healthcare, our food system from these nasty
Right.
ingredients. It's a tailwind that's amazing. And Lifetime's right in the middle of it, looking to try to provide these solutions through a program like Miora. And again, just to finish my comments, what we'll do then is create an action plan, customized and personalized for you. It will include foundational things like, how is your exercise program? What's your cardio program look like? Your resistance training program? What's your nutrition program look like? We'll connect you to a registered dietitian as part of the program because it's such a key part. Then we'll look at your supplementation and what's necessary. And then we'll even go into medications, hormones, peptides, or other IV therapies. And we'll develop that program every 3 to 6 months. We'll retest and reevaluate how you're progressing against moving those critical blood biomarkers in the direction that you might need to. Because what's so crazy interesting about this is that we can anticipate 5, 8, 10 years upstream the predictability of, as Peter Attia, the key biohacker, will say,
Uh-huh.
one of the four horsemen that will probably you'll deal
Yes.
with in an upcoming time, whether that be heart disease, cancer, whether that be dementia or Alzheimer's disease or other brain function, or diabetes,
Mm.
and glucose intolerance. Because when you look at the trends and the data, it's astonishing what's happening right now in America, with the number of consumers that 6 out of 10 have, chronic potential underlying disease states. It's just amazing. 50% are either diabetic or pre-diabetic.
Unbelievable.
Um, Somewhere between 88 to 93% have suboptimized metabolic dysfunction. I mean, we know the data on obesity. It's
Yes.
out of hand. 42% are obese, 70% are overweight. 1 in 3 have some sort of kind of brain fog and
Mm,
problems with focus right now and mental clarity. And so people are seeking solutions. And again, you either go to your traditional healthcare, which is set up to treat disease
right.
and a break fix model, or you have you're uber rich and you can afford going to a Fountain Life and spending $20,000 a year, or a Cleveland Clinic or a Mayo Health, we're going to spend 18 to 20 grand on a program like that.
Uh-huh.
Nobody is meeting now like Lifetime. With Miora, you'll invest $500 to get your blood work done as the
Hmm.
initial stage one. And then you'll be able to stack on top of that $149 a month membership fee to Miora on top of your regular membership fee, and
Okay.
you'll get access to all the peptides, hormones, and supplements at member-only pricing. So you'll be able
Interesting.
to go through that consult and be able to also access, if you want to, our facility, like at downtown Minneapolis, that has red light therapy, that has cryotherapy,
Mm.
infrared saunas. We have hyperbaric chamber as well in that location, in addition to all the recovery that we do at our normal Lifetime with hydro massage, cryo massage. We have IV therapy at that location, as well as all kinds of aesthetic treatments, from
Okay.
Botox to laser hair removal and other things that we've done there. We spent $1.2 million on just the aesthetic equipment
That's
at the
incredible.
Target location in
Wow.
downtown. So our vision is to launch and expand this program nationally. We most recently launched in a new club that we opened in Chicago, where we have a big number of clubs. We have over 100,000 memberships in our Chicago market.
Okay.
So our intent is to serve our customers at Lifetime with a hub and spoke model. We'll
Okay.
go into Dallas, we'll go into Houston, we'll go into, the New York market, Boston market, and we'll expand this so that our members can access this in the geographies where we have a big density of members and clubs.
Okay. Well, that's
But
incredible.
but our vision for it was to democratize longevity,
Sure.
make it available to more consumers. I surveyed 400,000 of our members at Lifetime, and they're interested and committed to their own health, of course. They have the disposable income, and they're already seeking out these longevity services elsewhere.
Sure.
Why not make it a convenient one-stop shop for us? Within Lifetime, we have the memberships today, the customer. We have the space that we can reconvert to these longevity programs, because Brahm and I experimented, in 2014, 2015 with a concept called proactive care, where
Okay.
we brought in 15 locations, hired docs, and tried a concept which was brilliant, of an MD coupled with a personal trainer and a registered dietitian.
Interesting.
But we were trying to do too much primary care, not
Okay.
enough prevention and longevity. So what we're doing with Miora is perfectly suited for our customer that's looking for this personalized health optimization, not dealing with an ear infection,
Uh-huh.
or a flu-like symptoms. That's traditional healthcare.
Right.
And let people go seek that out to their primary care doc. But what we want to be able to do is, if I'm having trouble recovering from my training, I'm not sleeping well, my sex life is not great, I'm sore all the time, I'm not able to maintain lean body mass and I'm putting on too much body fat. I'm Our two core customers, as you can appreciate, Kip, are one is the GLP customer right now, right? And Lifetime this is $111 billion category, right? 9% of Americans are on GLP-1s right now.
That's
And
unbelievable.
as you know, Kip, the magic of Lifetime is we're able to create this holistic lifestyle program that nobody's best suited as, which is necessary to maintain the lean body mass with the weight loss that happens with GLP-1s right now, semaglutide or tirzepatide, Ozempic and Mounjaro.
Uh-huh.
It is crazy right now. And we're doing it right. We're doing it different. We're titrating dosages up to reduce and mitigate the side effects of
Yeah.
nausea, diarrhea, and so forth. And it creates a more gradual weight loss so that you retain more lean body mass or
Mhm.
muscle. And then we're also getting to your goal weight and then titrating you off the dosage in time so you're not on it as a lifelong sentence.
Yes.
We're also able to get it through our compounding pharmacists at a much lower rate than the rack rate out there with Ozempic and Mounjaro and so
Sure.
forth. And we're able to combine the registered dietitian to you to make sure you get the right protein intake
Hmm.
and hydration. And we're going to measure body comp at Target Center, for example. We have a DEXA scan. And within our other clubs, of course, we're doing body composition testing for you as part of this program to do it right. And so we're so well suited to have the wraparound program, unlike some of these telehealth and telemedicines
Right.
that will send you this shit
Yeah.
and won't do anything with it.
Right.
We're also doing the complete blood work to understand what's happening with your other biometrics, right? Because let's face it, our customer is looking to understand their biological age,
Right.
right? What's their risk age? We don't want to just look at your chronological age. I'm 62, Kip. I want to
Uh-huh.
live and function like I'm 38.
Right. Yes.
And I want to live my life to its fullest. I want to train like that and I want to function like that longer and longer. So our two customers are that weight loss customer that's interested in gaining weight and having problems.
Hmm.
It's also that perimenopause and menopause woman
Okay.
that's struggling. I mean, it is a disaster. And the traditional healthcare system will tell them it's natural. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
And there are solutions for it. And the other one is the male above 40 years old that's starting to really see an erosion of their testosterone level.
Uh-huh.
And they
Yes.
want to preserve lean body mass.
Yep.
Because we also know the correlation of losing those hormone changes for a male or a female of progesterone is night sweats and sleepless nights and no sex life and gaining body fat. The list goes on and on. And to be able to reconcile those gaps is a life changer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm passionate about it.
Yes, I
I'm
can
sorry I
tell.
could go on and on about it, but to be able to change people's lives in this way, doing this business at Lifetime, as long as I've done it 25 years, and overseeing the personal training business, our personal trainers can only take the customers so far on their health journey.
Yep.
And then they had to refer them out. Now with Miora, we can continue that journey and provide those effective solutions through our medical providers and can extend how we're meeting the customer's needs. It's just a wonderful thing to be able to do.
Yeah. That's incredible. It makes me want to run out to Miura right now as soon as we're done here.
And figure it out.
So,
Yes.
so
Yes.
physically, the Miura clinics. There's one downtown Minneapolis in the Target Center where the Timberwolves play. Where else are there Miuras right
The other
now?
one we put up in Evanston in Chicago,
Okay.
a new club in Chicago, and we're looking at markets right now in Florida, in Texas, in California. And our hope is to have 25 of these stood up this year, and continue to serve our members in this amazing growing need that we know is happening in the marketplace. And like I said, provide this one-stop shop solution for our members at a really cost-effective but a credible and trusted solution for our members.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We've set up a separate subsidiary to formulate Miora as a for-profit. We can't be in the practice of medicine. So this is a, a, a licensed business that we have these doctors and these PAs and NPs, and they're the ones that are making sure that they're delivering this affordable health optimization and making it more accessible.
That's incredible. That's
Yeah.
absolutely incredible.
Yeah. And people can go to our website to check out Miora and learn more about it. But again, every state has different licensing requirements for these types of services. So we're going through that process and making sure that we do it right. For Lifetime, we've always been, as we talked about earlier, about being innovative, but we want to be on the leading edge, but it must be safe, you
Right.
know.
Hmm.
So you're seeing all this advancement in epigenetic testing and biological
Yes.
testing and AI-driven health optimization and, you know, all kinds of stuff in GLP-1s and age reversals. But we're trying to make it simple, easy to access, easy to understand, and most importantly, I say again, trusted. Lifetime has built this brand over 30 plus years that you can trust us. Whether that's in our kids programming, our swim programming, our Aurora aging
Uh-huh.
program, our pickleball program, or what we're doing with our training, what we're doing with LTH, which is our full nutritional supplement line, and or our Miora program.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think I read recently, Brahm thinks that or plans to have the supplement business be $1 billion business in and of itself,
Right.
correct?
That's right. It's a huge growth area for the company for a bunch of reasons. Because 25 years ago, Brahm and I would go and do seminars to our new members in our new markets, like Detroit, when we opened up our first clubs outside of Minnesota in Detroit. We'd fill the room, and it was called Master Metabolism, right? And we would talk about the body and how the body responds to food and exercise. And we expected a lot of questions at the end of those seminars about exercise programming, frequency, intensity, duration, type, what's the best type of exercise. 90% of the questions we received was on nutrition and supplementation.
Uh-huh.
So what I embarked on then as my first initiative with Lifetime was developing our own customized line and proprietary line of nutrition supplements.
Mm-hmm.
And we started developing our multivitamin. Men need different nutrients than women. You need different nutrients in the morning versus evening. There's no regulation largely in the supplement
Mm-hmm.
category, like pharmaceutical products. And so people can say and put on the label virtually whatever they want. And we started doing independent testing on our products back then to prove exactly what we say is on the label is in the bottle, and that they're efficacious materials at the right dosages.
Uh-huh.
So the supplement business really is a high growth category. There's no doubt about it. And we see our ability to be a leader in it and
Yeah.
have a responsibility, quite honestly, Kip, to lead in that category, to provide our customers with a trusted and respected solution.
That's exactly what's coming to mind about lifetime and trust. Because when you read the ingredients in so many of these supplements, it is just junk. It's
Yeah,
terrible. But
you've been around the business a long
yeah,
time. You know what's out there. It's a difficult category for the consumer to navigate.
yeah. I have my all-in-one
There it
vegan
is.
protein that I take every morning, right here.
There it is, my
It's
man.
just
There it is.
good stuff that you can trust. It's good ingredients and
Yep.
absolutely
You might pay a little bit more for it, but as you know, you pay for quality.
right.
Uh, and you know it's worth it because we're going to take care of all those things from end to end. You know, we made a commitment a long time in our cafes and within LTH. If it's here, it's healthy.
Yes.
And when you go to the store, either our e-commerce store or you go to our cafes, we've taken all that guesswork out for you,
Mm.
that we're going to make sure if it's good for you. So
No, absolutely. All right. A super selfish question that you may or may not know the answer to.
hit it.
Uh, you mentioned clubs in Florida, and right now they're kind of condensed in kind of that Miami extended area on the what was that, the East Coast. Are there any plans for Midwestern people that want to go to Florida? In Fort Myers, Sarasota, on the Gulf side, the Gulf of America now, as we know. Are there any plans for lifetimes on that side of the state of Florida?
We're constantly looking at expansion there.
Uh-huh.
And I believe we will have deployment plans there soon. It's an area that we know is ripe for a lifetime. It's just about making sure that we have the right real estate and the economics all make sense, of course, for us. Florida is a really interesting market. It's a phenomenal market for us, as you know, from the clubs that we have there.
Yeah.
West Palm Beach, Palm
Yes.
Beach is a phenomenal asset for us. Coral Gables,
Mm.
in the new club down the street there that we did, and those are doing amazing. The new Tampa club now that
Yes,
we
right.
moved is doing Harbor Island is doing amazing. So the market's prime for us. It's just that Florida's interesting because there's pockets of density and wealth, and then
Right.
it can change quickly based on how the layout of the real estate really is.
Yeah.
So we got to make sure we find the right assets, as you can appreciate, because these aren't cheap
Right.
investments, and they need the volume of the right type of people to make the math work.
Yeah. Well, I'll officially put in a plug here on the podcast to the world that Sarasota, Florida needs a lifetime, and the wealth is there, the population is there.
Well,
I think that's a good spot, in my
Brum and I
humble,
continue
selfish
to look at
opinion.
Fort Lauderdale because both of those are probably winter residents for
Right.
us. So we're going to have a home there.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, yes,
Oh, very
selfishly.
good. Well, maybe we'll kind of wrap up just a little bit with leadership, just your leadership philosophy, maybe how that's changed over the years, and just kind of
Yeah,
how you approach leadership to your
yeah,
people and
appreciate
teams.
that, Kip. I think, over the years, I've always had, as an athlete and a coach, inherently that sort of fire in my gut, and that performance driven approach to win.
Yes.
I'm a fierce, maniacal competitor, and I hate to lose more than I love to win.
Right.
And that's where BA and I have always been amazing partners. We met working out at the flagship club that Lifetime ultimately acquired in Eden
Okay.
Prairie. And, he used to watch me scramble for loose balls on the basketball court and grind out extra, that one more rep, anywhere
Uh-huh.
I was. And, that was part of the connection that we had, that fierce competitive spirit that we apply into our business. And that we want to surround ourselves with people with that similar mindset. But I think over the years, where I've grown as a leader, more than ever, and it's allowed me to be more successful and have more impact, is really around the areas of empathy, benevolence, of love, and we've always had passion and vision, and what I call as a leadership quality called thrust, with this
Hmm.
really intentional commitment to get to a desired place as rapidly as possible, right? With intentionality. But when you round that out with the other characteristics that I was referring to, I think you just gain more respect, um, more collaboration, more appreciation, and you just reach more people in a. We've always had a culture of care at Lifetime, where we looked at this 1994 Harvard Business Review case study called the service profit chain, Kip. And that always led with having employees and team members that are know that they're cared for and they love what they do. They're highly engaged. That translated in the service profit chain with the flywheel down to members, of course, and customers that loved what they were experiencing, like you at Edina with Mark and Sean, got the highest quality care every day. And that ultimately then that led to the financial returns and the profits for the company. So that culture of care, of the love and care of our team members, has always been number one for us. We measure team member NPS just like we measure member net promoter score.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been really important to us. The recognition of our team members we have an artistry program that we do within Lifetime
Huh.
that identifies the best club overall within the year that delivered artistry, both art and science. Sure, it was the metrics and KPIs and financial returns, but more importantly, it was what is the customer experience and the team member experience. Looking at what's the team member turnover, what's the club and leaders that are promoting the most leaders outside of that club in the future. That's the best leader. And so the best thing that I can say what for me was how I was able to develop and grow all of those 30,000 team members within a lifetime. That's my proudest thing. And how I was able to create wealth for those families by the things that we're able to do. And our commitment at Lifetime and my passion for it always has been how I can make them more valuable as a team member at Lifetime, or if they were to go somewhere else. And that's been our commitment. And I'm super proud of that.
That's amazing. Maybe chat a little bit more just on the culture and core values of Lifetime and how you were intentional about that.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, the cultural values have always been about our team member being first and how they think about the member experience. But if they're not being taken care of, if they don't feel great about what they do and how they're being treated with respect and dignity, and the golden rule that I've always lived by as a farm boy growing up in Iowa is that I would never ask somebody to do something that I wouldn't do myself first. Brahm and I has always held that firm. We held ourselves to a higher standard of picking up garbage and picking up towels in the locker room and the parking lot before our team members would. And that, the golden rule of treating others like we would want to be treated hold true. When I hire a GM, and I hired all the GMs myself of every club because it's so critical for the same reasons that you see Sean Severson at Edina hold true, is taking them out for dinner or lunch and seeing how they treat that wait staff is going to be an indication of how they treat anybody. And is that with respect and dignity? And will they treat Mark in the locker room, who I will treat at the same or better than I would treat Brahm McCrowdy, our founder. And I just recently, as an example, was in Edina, had the conversation with Mark, went to our head of HR and got Mark some restricted shares.
That's fantastic.
Because of the way he cares for the customer.
He really does. I mean, he is one of the most incredible people I've ever met at Lifetime and in life.
And I know he was at Highland Park as well, right?
Yeah, and Bloomington North, which is now all pickleball. But he just talks about family. Like Lifetime is a family, and the guests are family, the members. He really is.
He embodies it.
He's incredible. Yes, he lives it.
He embodies it.
Who he is.
And you know how hard it is to carry what that DNA and nucleus that started with Brahma in 1992 in Brooklyn Park
Uh-huh.
to now, you know, Westchester, New York, and
Yeah.
Laguna Niguel, and Toronto, Canada, and Mississauga, and Westlake, Texas, and
Yes,
it is challenging.
for
And
sure.
the only way you do that is just continuing to hold so closely those core values that we were speaking of,
Yeah.
and make sure those are embodied by our leaders. Because as you know, these are little cities. And if those leaders, those lead generals of those clubs don't embody that, the culture won't carry on, right?
Yes.
Because each one of these clubs have on average about 300 team members within them.
Hmm.
So they're little cities, and when you get, as Brahman always talk about, a bad egg
Yes.
on that bus, right?
Hmm.
It can create problems for the whole club.
Yeah. Maybe a
Yeah.
couple more questions. How about kind of along these lines, just what your approach has been over time to like attract and retain high performance leaders or high performance people in lifetime?
Yeah, it's a great question. When it comes to performers, whether it be, that performer that teaches a tremendous cycle class, or a GTX small group training class, or one of our area directors or general managers of our business. It is, you know the market can get real competitive relative to the simple things, like, I will say, a day off, or more wellness sick days, or what kind of health and medical benefits. You've got to have those things to be competitive in the
Hmm.
marketplace. But I believe, again, it always comes back to how we treat those team members with respect and dignity, how we invest in them to make them more valuable, how we also provide them with a career path and succession plans for them to continue to progress.
Mm.
Brom created a couple of years ago this thing called the team member dashboard, because, like many companies, we have a lot of things out there, performance reviews, PIPs, right, that put people on the naughty list. But the dashboard was intended to distill all these things down to one page. And I believe the most important part of that, yeah, it had your annualized objectives and your KPIs and how we're measuring those things, and who you report to and who reports to you, and all those kinds of logistical things. But I believe the most important part of that document was, what do you want to be able to do in the next 1 to 3 years? Because at Lifetime, when we interview people to come, the one thing I asked them, I want them to know, is what the next 3 moves are. And if they're a high performer, they're going to want to know
Right.
what the next 3 steps are for them. Because I don't expect them to be ecstatic, comfortable in their current role.
Right.
I want them to be able to map out what it's going to take for them to be successful in achieving the next 2 or 3 promotions in the
Hmm.
company. And that's what's so great about Lifetime. It's a high growth company.
Right.
We're
Right.
going at 10 to 12 clubs a year. So there's opportunities all over. And we're just getting started with 180 clubs.
Yeah. That's incredible. All right. Final question. Success to you. What is your personal definition of success? And you can take that any direction you
Yeah.
want.
Success to me is, you know, impacting people in a significant way, whether that be personally or professionally, and having the ability for them to improve their life, whether that be, their personal fitness and health, or that be, their career and their wealth creation. But it's, to me, success in life now more than ever for me at the stage I'm in is about leaving a legacy,
Mm.
um, about have an impact and leaving a legacy in memorable impactful experiences that you can leave this world a better place than when you found it. And to me, um, that's surrounding yourself with amazing friends and family. And one of the most successful things for me is about how I will be able to do that for my two boys, Jake and
Uh-huh.
Cole, 24 and 22, and what men they become,
Sure.
have become, and what they accomplish in life and the impact they have on carrying my legacy on for much like I've been able to do. So that's the pride that I have. And so I have a faith-filled journey
Mm.
that, I want to make sure that we're able to have the ability to create these amazing experiences in our life. And, that saying about, being able to end this life prim and proper and looking tight and all tied up. I want to be that guy who's filled with dirt. The body is worn out, and you slide into home base
Right.
with nothing left
Uh-huh.
because you left it all on the field
Yes.
and you lived a life fully
Mm.
with energy and fulfillment, and you left nothing on the sideline.
Yeah. Well, amen to that. Well, thank you, Jeff. This was, and truly, I mean, again, being a lifetime fan my whole life, this is truly an honor, and I really appreciate your time and excited to check out Miora. And we will share the Miora, website and contact info there, as well as yours and socials and all that kind of stuff in the show notes so people can reach out. But again, thank you very much. This was really, really a pleasure.
Great talking to you today, Kip.
Abs-
Look forward to getting to know you better. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
My pleasure.